Strickland Metals. So, a little bit of an overview on Strickland Metals. So, a few years ago, Strickland was your classic Western Australian company, been around a long time, had a probably share price of about 2 cents. Fast forward a couple of years to last year, and Strickland sold about 350,000 ounces in WA to Northern Star for about $60 million. And that really transformed Strickland from being a small company into a company that had grander ambitions. So the company started to look for ways to grow beyond that. You know, how could it get to, say, a $500 million market cap? And so through that process, Strickland was looking for other assets, was looking for assets that had good exposure to the upside, particularly tier one potential. During that process, they came across this project in Serbia called Rogozna. At the time, I was running Rogozna with our team in Serbia, and we decided to sit down with Strickland and we put together a deal, and that deal was concluded in July of this year. So here we are today. Strickland now has two really high quality strategic assets. It has Rogozna in Serbia, which has 5.4 million ounce gold equivalent in resource. It's got true tier one potential, and it has the Yandal project next to Jundee, owned by Northern Star in Western Australia, which is strategic for its own reasons. It's quite rare as well because it's got about $40 million in cash in Northern Star shares. So Strickland does not need to raise capital for any time in the next 18 months, which is obviously very rare for a junior exploration company. In terms of our team, we've got about 25 people in Serbia, some of them with over 20 years working on this project. In Western Australia, we have a team of about 15 people working on that project, and we have a very strong board, very strong technically, with a track record in discovery and delivery of major projects. Just a little bit about the company, the snapshot, 2.2 billion shares on issue. So that is a legacy of a company that's been around for a very long time. Okay. Top 20 in the share registry owns 51%. So the top 20, very strong. We've got about 20% institutional ownership. And why we're here in London and why were we here in Zurich earlier this week, we're looking to transform the register and bring on a lot more new investors that are keen to be part of the next stage of growth with this company. Okay, so in terms of the projects, as I said, two really high quality strategic projects. So in Serbia, why Serbia? Well, Serbia is Europe's second largest copper producer. A lot of people don't know that. But through the investment of Zijin Mining over the last few years, it's now second in Europe for copper production. Zijin are also committing to expanding production, which will take Serbia to being close to number one in Europe. It's got a long history of mining. It's located at the western end of the Tethyan Belt. So this is essentially Chile in Eastern Europe. Giant ore bodies. So because you've got giant deposits plus a very good regulatory framework, all the majors are there. So in addition to Zijin, you've got BHP, you've got Vale, you've got Rio Tinto, you've got Kinross, you've got Dundee, you've got Adriatic Metals, and now you've got us. Where we are, Strickland's project is in the Trepča Mineral District. So this is a historical mining district. Over 30 million tonnes of historical production, was once one of Europe's largest zinc, lead, silver mining districts. So this is really important because the people that live around this project are familiar with mining, and one of those mines is still operational today, just 4 kilometres from one of our main deposits. So this is an overview of the project area. We've got 180 square kilometres here. This is a giant magmatic system. It's a porphyry-related system. Most of our deposits currently are what's called skarn-hosted deposits. So they're porphyry-related, but their mineralisation is emplaced into carbonates. Because of that, you get a lot higher grade than you would with a porphyry. So we've got 2 deposits which make up the 5.4 million ounces. That's Shanats and Copper Canyon. We actually have another 2 deposits which currently don't sit in resources. That's Medenovats in the north and Gradina in the south. We're very confident over the next 12 months we're going to go very close to doubling this resource base with the drilling that we're doing. The other interesting thing or great thing about this project is it offers fantastic leverage to upside. So in the last 3 years, 4 years alone, we have made 3 discoveries. So that is this sort of project where the more you drill, the more you discover. What do we get when we drill? Well, each of these deposits is slightly different. It is predominantly a gold-rich system. So in these deposits across the board, gold is 60% of the metal, copper is 20% of the metal, and the remainder is zinc. But when we drill them, we get these 200 to 300 metre intercepts, continuously mineralised. You don't see this very often anywhere in the world except the giant porphyry belts. Importantly, within those zones, you get really nice high-grade mineralisation, anywhere from 10 metres to up to 100 metres thick. And it's these zones of mineralisation which enable for development. We can do a smaller scale operation, a bit more like an Adriatic Metals, a 1 to 2 million tonne, or at the other end of the spectrum, when the majors have come to look at this project, they're looking at it from a sub-level cave, sort of 100 plus metre stopes. Shanat's currently our main deposit. This has got 4.6 million ounces. Through the guts of this deposit, we've got 14,000 ounces per vertical metre. So that puts pretty much anything you'll see in WA to shame. What it looks like in section, we get vertical on the right-hand side. You can see vertical zonation. So in the volcanics, you get epithermal mineralisation. Sitting beneath that, we've got a high-grade gold zone where we recently hit 90 metres at 4 grams. And then you get the copper gold skarn sitting under that where we've got some massive sulfides as well. And in long section, looking at it there, you can see in that stratigraphic position, we've only got 2 holes into that gold zone through the whole project. Gradina, another deposit. So as I said, we've got 4 deposits. This one's gold only, or 90% of the metal here is gold. Interesting thing about Gradina is it actually hasn't been drilled near surface. So we've recently put a road in up the hill and we've drilled the first few holes from surface. In those first few holes, the assays are expected back in a few weeks. And then there's Medenovats. So this one's the most base metals rich. About 60% of the metal here is copper and zinc with the rest gold. We've recently made a discovery just 300 metres away to the southwest, Kotlovi, which we announced this week. First 2 holes into that target and we hit ore grade mineralisation. So we're expecting to put a maiden resource on Medenovats in about February. The key for Medenovats is the high-grade core where we're getting 50 to 100 metres at 5 grams gold equivalent. So this is a really nice 20 to 30 million tonnes. And here's our new discovery. You can see it in 3D, only 350 metres from the Medenovats ore body. You can see here in this picture down the bottom, this is what some of the mineralisation looks like. We've got massive sulfides, which suggests somewhere near there's a massive sulfide body as well. Okay, you've probably got a feeling just from that bit that there's a lot of exploration upside here, both in existing deposits, but also across the portfolio. We've got over 20 targets. We've got 1 rig dedicated just to exploration. We've made 3 new discoveries in the last 4 years, and we will be making several more. We're currently drilling at the Jezerska Reka prospect on the left there. That is a porphyry target. We've got 1 hole in there that's got porphyry veining in it and peripheral mineralisation. So we're just drilling the second hole. One of the key things from a targeting perspective for this project is everywhere where you've got a geochem anomaly, which you can see in the top image, with a corresponding geophysical anomaly, particularly IP, you generally get some degree of mineralisation. And then once you're in that zone of mineralisation, that's about hunting the high grade. Okay, and then there's Western Australia. So as I said, Strickland was a West Australian focused gold explorer. It's had great success in that. Where the project is in the eastern goldfields. This is the Yandal belt. Northern Star's Jundee Mill is located to the southwest. Last year, Strickland sold that Millrose deposit for $60 million. So that's the recipe for success here. Find resources and monetize those resources. Now, importantly, this belt, we've got 70 kilometres of strike along the main shear zone. We've got almost 1,800 square kilometres in tenure. And this year, we've been drilling 20,000 metres, predominantly up around Horse Well. And we've been getting some spectacular results drilling, particularly from Palomino and Warmblood. This is the sort of area where historically that southern area was all subcropping, so it was easy to find. It all geochemically anomalous, so that was how those discoveries were made. But the actual northern 2/3 of this belt is all undercover. So most of the drilling north of that dashed red line is all shallow RAB drilling from the 1980s and 1990s. Most of that is ineffective because it hasn't tested the bedrock. So that's a key target for us, is moving north from Palomino along that axis of the anticline, start drill testing undercover. And that's where we can take this camp from a few 100,000 ounces to 1 million ounces. So that is the longer term plan. In the short term, our focus was really to test underneath the old historic drilling where there was really good drill intercepts, like 30 metres at 5 grams in the oxide. We wanted to chase that down plunge. This year we've been hitting generally anywhere from sort of 10 to 17 metre thick zones of high-grade primary mineralisation. This is as good as anything you'll see in a West Australian gold junior. And this is just 50 kilometres from a very hungry mill. Same story at Warmblood. This one's probably even better in my opinion because we've got over 1 kilometre of strike where the average drilling depth is just 80 metres. So we've put the first few holes into the primary domain this year. We've hit really nice mineralisation, 14 metres at 6 grams, almost 8 metres at 10 grams, and that's completely open for 1 kilometre along strike. So in terms of our next 12 months, we're going to have a very productive 12 months. We're going to have at least 3 resource upgrades coming out of Serbia starting in February next year with Medenovats. That'll be followed by Shanats. We'll also put out a resource update for Horsewell, which will incorporate this year's 20,000 metres of drilling. We'll drill another 20,000 metres in WA next year, looking to expand Horsewell and start testing that target to the north, while in Serbia we're in the midst of a 60,000 metre drilling program. We're about a third of the way through that, so we've got another 40,000 metres to complete on that next year, and with the view of delivering the maiden scoping study for phase 1 development of Serbia by the end of next year. So why invest in Strickland? Well, hopefully you've seen that we've got two fantastic projects, strategic in their own ways. We're probably the most active junior on the ASX right now. We're putting out news releases every couple of weeks with our drill results, spectacular drill results. We're going to deliver a scoping study by the end of next year, multiple resource upgrades, and with all of this, when you combine it with the strong gold price environment, we've probably got the best leverage out of any junior on the ASX towards both discovery and gold price. So we think when you combine all of this together, it is a rare opportunity and is a very clear pathway for us to create really long-term sustainable value with this company. Thank you.